The Ravens pulled the plug on Justin Tucker. A big quarterback deal is finally official, and a discussion on jersey numbers and a future NFL draft. NFL Spotlight starts now. Welcome in. It is the Tuesday, May 6th edition of the NFL Spotlight Show. I am your host, Ari Meirov. Usually on Tuesdays, now that the NFL draft is over, we are going to be picking up our NFL Spotlight guest every single Tuesday. We usually have one with the draft and all that going on for agency. Also, we kind of toned it down a little bit, but we are going to be starting that up again here very, very soon. We do want to ask our listeners, whether you're on Apple Podcasts or YouTube or wherever it is, to let us know who you think should be a spotlight guest here on the show. Somebody who deserves more recognition, could be a player, a coach, an executive, whoever it is, somebody underrated, somebody underappreciated. Leave a comment. Do it on Twitter, on X, DM me, DM Ben, whatever it is. Let us know, and we are going to work on getting those people here on the show as the offseason starts to slow down over here. Also, make sure that you are subscribed here on YouTube if you're watching us, or Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Rate, review, and subscribe. All of it is greatly appreciated as we continue to build up NFL Spotlight. Here on today's show, on this Tuesday, it was a bit of an action-packed Monday around the NFL. Some news, some interesting things we want to talk about here. Let me bring in my good friend Ben Allen. Ben, what is going on? How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, like Ari was saying, reach out to us. I know Kendall Beck in the comments has already dropped in a guy like Reed Blankenship. That's somebody I think that we have discussed in the past. That could be a fun one to get. So yeah, let us know and we'll jump on that. But for today, like you said, no list stuff. We're gonna get right into the news. And a big story coming out of Baltimore with the Ravens releasing kicker Justin Tucker after 13 seasons. Tucker is arguably the greatest kicker of all time, but is coming off the worst career season, only hitting 73% of his field goal attempts. This is a far cry from that all-time great number of 89.1. This is, of course, all being overshadowed by the allegations looming over Tucker from 16 different Baltimore-based massage therapists who claim Tucker was sexually inappropriate during therapy sessions starting back in 2012. Tucker was likely potentially already on the chopping block, as he was tied for the second highest paid kicker in the game, coming off his worst season. And then seemingly the nail in the coffin was the Ravens selecting Tyler Loop out of Arizona in the 6th round of the draft. While Tucker is not being criminally charged or the subject of any civil lawsuits as of right now, he does have an NFL investigation taking place regarding the alleged actions. While the story has likely not seen its last chapter, I feel there's a real chance that we're not going to see him on a football field again. What do you make of that situation, Ari? Do you think that we do see him on the team this upcoming season? Do we see him in 2 seasons? Where do you think this all lands with Justin Tucker?
I mean, there's so much to get to here. And first of all, I mean, we did our cut candidates way back a couple months ago, and I mentioned Justin Tucker, and I told you, Ben, here on the show that even without all the off the field stuff, he was going to be a candidate because he had a season last year where he missed 10 kicks. I think he was 31st in the NFL when it came to conversion rate. I think it was 73%. So his kicking last year was obviously way worse than the usual. He had no more guaranteed money on his contract either. So it all just made sense as a potential for it to happen. Loop in also the off the field stuff, which is obviously very, very serious. And to this point, the NFL continues to investigate. It just became even more likelier. Now, the NFL, the Ravens actually have been trying to play this as if this is strictly a football decision, which maybe it is. But they did also mention a couple of months ago at the owners' meetings, I think it was Sashi Brown, the president, who said that we will not make a Justin Tucker decision until the NFL finishes its investigation. And of course, the investigation is still ongoing. So what in the world happened that they finally decided to pull the plug now instead of waiting until the investigation is over? We will never really know. But what I could tell you is that Justin Tucker has been in the building over the last several weeks. He has been kicking on practice fields. He's been doing all of that. And like you said, Ben, they did draft a kicker for the first time in their 30-year franchise history as the Baltimore Ravens, they used a draft pick on a kicker here a few weeks ago, taking Tyler Loop out of Arizona, who they said was the highest rated kicker on their board. It's somebody who definitely has a big leg. He was 6 of 9 last year on kicks from 50 plus yards, including hitting a 62-yard field goal last year. So this is somebody clearly they are comfortable with. And I guess having Justin Tucker in the building with Tyler Loop was just a little bit awkward for them or whatever it was. So they decided to move on from him now. And again, they want to make it very clear it's a football decision. I think them putting out a statement and trying to make that very clear and avoiding the off the field stuff in the statement is them also trying to avoid any potential NFLPA getting involved or, a grievance being filed or whatever it is. But again, Tucker had no more guaranteed money left on his contract. And this was always going to be a possibility this offseason coming off the year that he just had. He was the longest tenured player on the Ravens roster, the last player from that Super Bowl winning team back in 2012. And now his career is over. And really, his career in Baltimore is over, I should say. And it's a little bit of a tough situation to balance over here because he had so many positive moments in Baltimore being the best kicker in football. But now you have this very, very disturbing situation looming over all of it as well. Now, you asked me about his future here. I would be surprised if an NFL team actually signs him now. We do know there are many NFL teams who have struggled with the kicker position. And again, NFL teams have surprised me before. I would just imagine that NFL teams, considering the circumstances over here and the amount of people that are involved with these allegations, that they would just sit back and not do anything and wait for the investigation to conclude before signing him. Now, Tucker does not have to sign with a team. He has made well over $50 million in his career, but he does want to clear his name in all of this. And he has put out twice publicly has said that everything that has been reported by the Baltimore Banner is unequivocally false in his words. So we're going to wait for all of this to officially get by. The NFL is investigating. No civil lawsuits have been filed to this point. But once everything is over, then I think we could have a situation over here where we will find out whether a team is willing to go forward and, of course, all of that. But I would be surprised if any NFL team actually right now at this stage of where the investigation is going, they actually go ahead and sign Justin Tucker. It would be a surprise to me. Again, they could do it. It's possible, but I would be surprised if it goes that direction, especially with this position. It's not like it's a quarterback or a different premium position. Kickers are very important, but like Bill Parcells years ago said, he wants his kickers, punters, long snappers, holders to just be part of the team and have no distractions at all. Maybe Tucker, with the way he played early on in his career, NFL teams would have made an exception for him because we've seen it happen. Look at Deshaun Watson. But I think right now, coming off this season, I would be surprised if any NFL team actually went out of the way to sign him right now.
Moving on, Matthew Stafford was the subject of trade rumors during the start of the offseason after it was made very clear that he needed a new contract. We knew in March that a deal was happening and that he would be remaining in Los Angeles, but the terms of the deal have not been revealed until the last couple days. You kept saying over and over again, I'm just waiting to see these numbers. I'm just waiting to see these numbers. You've now seen them. What do you think of these numbers? What does this mean for his movement with the team going forward? And do you anticipate him being there longer than just 1 year?
All right. So the background here, once again, I've mentioned it a couple of times, but they got this agreement in place that he's going to stay. Remember, the offseason, the combine in Indianapolis, the talk was Raiders trade, Giants trade. Will the Steelers sneak in? Will he be back with the Rams? Are they respecting him enough? Eventually, cooler heads prevailed. They got something done where he will stay in Los Angeles. And that was at the combine. That was before free agency. And then, like I've said before, I always get the official numbers of what the contract actually looks like and what's guaranteed and what's not a few days after it's officially filed. And this entire offseason went by, free agency happened, owners meetings happened, draft happened, and it was never filed and processed with the league, with the PA. And I was like, what is taking so long? And I think the Rams are kind of trying to hide this over here because maybe we'll draft a quarterback. Maybe we won't. You guys don't know what the contract really is. So finally, the draft now is over. They finally file it. And you look at the actual numbers, essentially, it's what I thought it was. It's what I said back in March when it was initially agreed to. It only has guaranteed money in 2025. They gave him a significant raise from what he was supposed to make, which was about $23-24 million. They've risen that all the way to $40 million on top of the $4 million guarantee that he initially had in the contract. So he's going to make $44 million in 2025 this year. That is good money for quarterbacks, where it should be for Matthew Stafford. The interesting part is in 2026 next year. It is not guaranteed. There is $0 guaranteed in 2026. It officially becomes guaranteed around the start of free agency, or right before the start of free agency in March, which again means that after the season is over, whichever way it ends with the Rams, there is the potential to move on from him, whether it's a cut, which is probably unlikely, or a trade, which I guess is possible, or of course, he just calls it quits and retires from the NFL, which is also possible as well. So right now, Matthew Stafford is officially locked in for one more year with fully guaranteed money in Los Angeles. But they essentially set up his contract in a way where it doesn't officially guarantee until March, and they put it as an option bonus in the contract. Again, this is very, very detailed stuff, but it's an option bonus that officially kicks in at the start of the regular season right before week 1, which in essence would allow them to do a trade with any team until then, and that guaranteed money would essentially just switch hands and go from the Rams to a new team. So that also leaves a trade possibility way into later in the offseason as well, which is what the Packers did a few years ago before they traded him to the Jets, when all his money just went from Packers hands to Jets hands. That is something that's definitely possible as well over here. And keep this in mind, the Rams now have 2 first-round picks in this 2026 NFL draft, thanks to that Atlanta Falcons trade on Thursday night of the draft when they moved up to get James Pierce. So Stafford is there for this year. He'll be there with Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, and all those guys. But after this year, for the third consecutive offseason, we might be talking again about the future of Stafford in Los Angeles.
Okay, it's been a fun run for DC sports fans of late, and it looks like it's going to keep on rocking. 2027, the NFL draft will be heading to Washington, D.C. Commissioner Roger Goodell and President Trump announced on Monday that the 3-day event will be held on the grounds of the National Mall, with the Capitol as the backdrop. The events will be hosted in partnership with the Washington Commanders and Events D.C. I've been out to the draft before. I've been when they were in Las Vegas. It was fun. Outside of the pre-draft events, like, the shots that were taking place on the Bellagio fountain, NFL Network had their desk out there. It wasn't exactly the most beautiful experience. Like, the actual draft event took place in a parking lot. So, make of that as you will. This is a level up. Being there at the National Mall, it is an incredible backdrop. The renderings are now out. I'm really excited about it. I'm going to have to see if I can convince our bosses to be able to let us go out there in 2 years. Do you think I've got any shot of being able to convince Mark and Harrison of doing so?
I definitely think it's a possibility, especially since you're from Maryland, right? I mean, we have a shot, right? So
Yeah.
you're from the state. There's definitely a possibility there that we could do some pushing and shoving to make it happen. But we kind of teased this a few weeks ago on the show when we were talking about the old RFK site, which is where the new Washington Commanders Stadium is going to be built. And we mentioned the 2027 NFL draft might be coming to Washington, because that is something that has been building up over here over the last several weeks. If you're watching on YouTube, the rendering here at the National Mall, it's unbelievable. I mean, if this is the way it's going to look, it is fantastic. And the potential players in that draft with, a Jeremiah Smith, a Ryan Williams, a Dylan Stewart, and then most importantly, potentially Arch Manning, who is the first family of football, which is just how fitting is that for it to potentially be in Washington, D.C. Like, that is going to be pretty awesome. That draft overall, like scouts have already talked about, 27 draft, from the top part of it, it is going to be stacked with the way it is looking right now in college football. So it looks pretty awesome. And again, it just all goes back to the Washington Commanders and this new ownership group with Josh Harris. And of course, there's the Blitzer family. Magic Johnson is part of it. And what they've done since they got the team from Dan Snyder, where it's obviously all the hires they've made. I mean, Adam Peters at GM, head coach Dan Quinn, who has changed the culture there, drafting the quarterback, getting that right with Jaden Daniels. The overall roster where it is now is just night and day compared to where it was a few years ago. And then, of course, now getting the new stadium, which is in the final approval stages, I would say, at the old RFK site, building a state-of-the-art stadium, a place where it's going to be a dome. Not sure which type of dome, but they're going to have a dome there, which as a result means they're going to have future Super Bowls coming to Washington, D.C. as well. It is meant to be at the old RFK site. That's where the glory days was for the Washington franchise. So everything is going well for them. And now you get the NFL draft to come to your city as well. Roger Goodell, Josh Harris, the owner, they mentioned on Monday at the Oval Office that they're expecting over 1 million people to show up over the course of the 3-day event in 2027 for the NFL draft. The record, I believe, is 850,000 in Detroit last year. So that would break the record. Of course, this next draft will be in Pittsburgh, so we'll see what they do. But this is just all the culmination of Dan Snyder finally being out, having these new owners come in, and how the fortune of the franchise has changed so fast. NFC Championship game last year. The future is bright. The city is rocking again. It's a good time to be a Washington Commander fan right now and what's going on with that city. So this is just yet another milestone on top of the stadium news that we got last week.
It's pretty phenomenal hearing those numbers of like the amount of fans that show up to these draft events. I just had to Google it because I was curious, because like we saw the numbers from Green Bay, which obviously can't get to 800,000. The population of Green Bay is only 100,000. So they had twice the amount of people there. That's insane.
More than twice. They had 605,000 people show up, I think was the
I was thinking of first night. I was thinking of first night. Yeah.
Overall, over the course of the 3-day, it's crazy. And if you just think about it for a second and take a step back, all it really is somebody coming to a podium and reading off a name, right? Yeah. That's really all it is.
There's like you can hang out with Scott Hansen. You can hang out with Scott Hansen. Scott keeps it entertaining out there.
There's good music playing. There's video boards and whatever. You could talk to a bunch of fans who might be drunk or whatever. Like, it's cool. But at the end of the day, all it is a guy every 10, 15 minutes showing up to a podium and reading a name. And the NFL has made it so big. And the reason it became so big, I love the story of it. It used to be a Radio City Music Hall forever, right? Yeah. There was that one year where the Rockettes were there and they had a disagreement on the dates. And the NFL was like, you know what? We're not going to lose to you. We're not getting that date that we want that Thursday. We're taking it out of here. The Radio City Music Hall said, go ahead. They went to Chicago. They saw what a success it was. And the NFL was like, bye-bye, New York. We're taking this on the road moving forward. So the story is crazy, and they kind of lucked out of how this is going on right now.
Well, this is a good transition to our final story, which has to do with rookies and guys that have just finished getting drafted here. And today's talk has to do with jersey numbers, and it is brought to you by Abdul Carter and his struggle to find a number that isn't Lawrence Taylor's 56 or Phil Simms' 11. LT's number is retired by the Giants. Carter asked to wear it. LT rightfully said no. Then he pivoted to Phil Simms, which was also shut down. Carter has been on social media voicing a little tongue-in-cheek, I'm just struggling to find a number. Maybe I won't wear a number next year. The Giants have 14 numbers retired. Currently, if you are ever on NFL.com or looking through roster numbers, you'll see that there are a lot of players on the roster currently. There's 2 guys wearing number 99, but overall 72 players with numbers assigned. Now, I'm not a math guy. I'm a journalist by trade, and I can't do math. But when you have 86 of 100 possible numbers taken, again, you can wear 0 through 99, your pool gets really small for your options. Do you think that do you think Abdul Carter is going to be the first player to not have a number on his jersey? And do you think if that doesn't get figured out, we need to just have people stop retiring numbers?
So Abdul Carter will have a number eventually. Now, I have a bit of an opinion on this. I mean, the NFL rosters, it's right now 90 players. You're allowed to have up to 90 players on your roster in the offseason. The regular season is 53 players plus 16 more on your practice squad. It's just retiring numbers in the NFL where your options are 0 to 99. Only recently did 0 become a real thing. You don't really have that many numbers available in the first place. Like you mentioned, the Giants, they have 14 numbers retired. That is the most, along with the Chicago Bears. There are a few teams who traditionally do not retire numbers. That is, the Falcons, the Cowboys, the Raiders, the Texans also don't do it. And the way they do it is they just honor the player's jersey, and that's it. They're like, we can still give your number out, but we're not going to actually retire it and make it no more. And you just look around, like, every single year you need these numbers. And I know like people go to training camp and they're trying to see which players are on the roster. They get the roster sheet, and then there's like three players wearing the same number because we don't have enough numbers to give out because other numbers are retired. I just think in football, it's a little bit difficult to retire numbers, unlike basketball where it's 12, 13 guys on a roster. Baseball, it's 25 guys. Like there's enough numbers available to pick from where like, okay, if my number's not available, I'll find something else. Football, you can't even do that. Then, of course, there's also the limitations about which numbers you could wear based on your position. I know they loosened it up a little bit, but still, it's still an issue. So I just think it's harder to retire numbers in football. And if you're going to do it, it really should be for these special players. You look at some of the numbers that retired, they're from the 1930s and 1940s for players who I know there are specific reasons, like they went to war and whatever. Like some of these guys, like play like 3 years with their team. Like at some point, it's a little bit complicated. And over the last couple of years, we've had these players going to the family members and asking if we could unretire your number because I really want that number. Like last year, Malik Neighbors got number 1 and got the Flaherty family from the Giants to say, yeah, it's okay, you could wear that number. I remember J.J. Watt with the Cardinals. He went to Marshall Goldberg's family and they were like, yeah, you could wear number 99. Peyton Manning had the same thing in Denver where he went to the family there, got number 18. It's just whenever it comes to numbers in the NFL, I just don't think we should have numbers getting retired. That's the way I look at it. Honor the player, put him in the rafters, put his name there, do something special. I like what the Cowboys do, honestly, which is Jerry Jones gives out the number 88 to whichever receiver he believes is going to be the next big thing. He's giving it to CeeDee Lamb, gave it, of course, to Des Bryant, Drew Pearson, Michael Irvin. Like they all wear number 88. It's a tradition. If you come into the organization, if Jerry believes you're going to be a big deal in that position, you're wearing number 88. I kind of like that. So there are different ways to do it without retiring numbers is my hot take in all of this, especially in a sport where in the offseason you need 90 players on a roster. You have 100 numbers available. And then, of course, during the regular season, you have to have 69 numbers available, 53 guys on the active roster and 16 on the practice squad. It's just very, very complicated in my mind. So that's the way I look at it. But I don't think it's ever going to change. And again, there are over 100. The exact number is 163 players have had their jersey numbers retired in the NFL. Again, the Giants and Bears have the most at 14. I just think it's very, very difficult to do this whenever you have such large rosters.
So you think Lawrence Taylor should have let him wear the number 56?
No, I think once it's retired, you really have no choice. Again, you could go over to the family and try to get it, but it also puts the family in an awkward position as well, where it's like, if we don't give it, then people are going to say this about us. If we do give it, people are going to say this about us. Like, I think if it's already retired, okay, what else can we do about it? We're seeing these teams unretire numbers now, which is not the point of retiring a number. So it's like we're in a bit of an awkward place with all of this. Somebody should have realized years ago that retiring numbers was not it. It's just not in this sport. It's just not it. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it.
What number would you wear if you were in the NFL, Ari?
The principal position I wear. I mean, I'm a traditionalist with all this. I liked the way it used to be, Ben, which was if you're a quarterback, you're 1 to 19. If you're a running back, you're 20 to 40. Like I liked that. And now, of course, we have these guys wearing single digits. Like I'm used to it. I'm fine with it now, but I didn't like that formula we used to have. But if I was a quarterback, my favorite number in Madden used to be 5 and 10. Those are my numbers. And 3. 3, 5, 10. Those are my numbers.
Okay, low numbers. Okay. Well, the funny thing about me is even though I am a stat head, I can't remember jersey numbers to save my life. When I first
give me anything, I got you. Give me a name.
I literally can't. When I first got hired at NFL, they make you do a test that gives you a bunch of, you don't even see the jersey name on it. You have to be able to tell the color and also then tell the number, and it can go back in time a little bit. They'll give you time periods. I thought I had not gotten the job because of how poorly I did on that section. And not only do they make you finish the test, they then bring you in with the producer and you go over it. And then you basically get shamed to your face about not knowing numbers. So I still can't learn numbers, but it's, a blessing and a curse because it's one less thing I have space that I have to worry about. I can worry about actual stats that are taking place right now. But at the same time, I look like a dope half the time when it comes to like, oh, what number is that guy? Okay, whatever.
I would crush jersey numbers. I'm not good with colleges, and I'm also really bad with pronunciation, which you're good at. So That's the things that I got down. I'm good with jersey numbers. That's my thing.
Welcome to NFL Spotlight. Hit subscribe. We'll be doing fun things moving forward, like talking about jersey numbers and why we can't remember them. Let's say goodbye.
All right, that will do it here for our Tuesday, May 6th edition of the NFL Spotlight Show. Like I said at the very beginning, if you have anybody who you believe should be on the show moving forward over here on the Tuesday episode, special spotlight guest, somebody who deserves more recognition, underrated, underappreciated, doesn't get talked about enough, let us know, and we're going to get to work on trying to get them here on the show as the offseason quiets down a bit. A lot of the players out there that you might want us to get might be in Cabo right now, so it might be difficult to get them right now, but we will get to work on trying to get them here on the show in the future. We will see everyone here tomorrow morning.